right, we are starting chapter 5.5. What we're gonna do, I did this when we were in quarantine, like the end of last year, and it worked. So hopefully it goes well as it did last year. So what will happen, you have these notes, so you should have these notes with you. I'll kind of walk through just like I normally would in class. And I notice it doesn't take as long when I do it in the video, but who would have thought? All right, first thing we're gonna go over is the definition. The first definition is, or the only definition, is the dimensional analysis. And dimensional analysis is a process to change one unit of measurement to another. I'm also going to take a picture of these notes and upload it so you can see them as well. So what does that look like? That's what we're going to learn today. We're going to identify appropriate customer units, and then we'll be able to convert customer units. So that's what today is going to be going over. First, let's fill out this chart. These are ones that we'll typically be using in class. I'm not going to make you memorize them. They will be available for you whenever we have our quiz or test, so not to panic on that. But first, our unit measurements for length that we see most common are inch, foot, yard, and mile. We know that 1 foot equals 12 inches. 1 yard is 3 foot. 1 mile is 5,280 feet, or 1,760 yards. Capacity, this is like shampoo bottles. A lot of your cooking stuff that you will deal with is with these. Fluid ounces, cups, pints, quarts, gallons. We know that 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. 1 pint is 2 cups. 1 quart is 2 pints. And 1 gallon is 4 quarts. Weight, this is for you and I, babies, birds, animals, all the different types of stuff. This is where they will be. So we know 1 pound is 16 ounces and 1 ton is 2,000 pounds. All right, so now we're going to talk about finding the appropriate unit of measure. So let's see, we have a weight of a hummingbird. Going up to our weight categories, we know it can't be ton, because if there's a hummingbird out there that weighs a ton, that is unbelievable. We know it is not pounds, because it's not very often that you see like any type of pound, but hummingbirds are those very tiny ones that you can like hardly even see when they're flying. So we can say the best measure in weight would be ounces. The other one is the length of a soccer field. So go to our lengths. So I would say that the best measurement to lengthen soccer fields is yards, simply because it's too long to measure in inches or foot, right? Feet. And it's too short to measure in miles. Does that make sense? So the quick check, the way that I do these in the videos is I want you to like pause the video, work on these two, and then unpause the video and I'll show you the answers. So at this time, if you want to pause the video and then check in with your answer. So the first one is the length of a swimming pool. The length of a swimming pool, it can either be feet or yards. So it kind of depends on if you have like a big community pool or like your own pool, but they can be measured in feet and yards, because inches are too small and miles is too large, because it asks you to explain. So that's where you could have wrote that. Capacity of an eyedropper. This one is fluid ounces, because the next unit of measurement for fluid ounces is a cup, and eyedropper, that's way too much for a cup, or way too less, I guess, for a cup. So these are being able to correctly figure out an appropriate unit of measurement for those. So now that's where we actually do the math part of being able to convert these units of measurements. Again, I like these notes, but I don't like these notes. So go along with these notes, but I'm also going to actually solve the problem on a separate piece of paper. And if you want to write that on a separate piece of paper, or you want to do it in this little blank space, that's fine. So the first problem we have is we want to convert 68 fluid ounces to cups. So to set that up, you're going to do 68 fluid ounces all over 1, because you got to make that a fraction, right? Because that's just how we do things. That's what we're doing right now. The whole purpose of that we've been adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing fractions is right here. So we are trying to convert these fluid ounces to cups. So just like how we know 3 divided by 3 equals 1, and we know the variable w divided by w equals 1, same thing here when we have a unit of measurement, like fluid ounces divided by itself, it kind of cancels out and it gives us 1. So in order to get rid of these fluid ounces, because we're trying to get to cups, that's what the direction says, is we have to put fluid ounces on the denominator, because we know fluid ounces divided by fluid ounces, that cancels out, it divides them out. It's a common factor. So ultimately we're going to be able to factor out those fluid ounces. So we're trying to get to cups, so we're going to put the unit measurement cups on the top. So now we want to look at our table. We're trying to get from fluid ounces to cups. So going to my capacity, we know that there's 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. So I'm able to fill this out correctly. We know there's 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces, right? So whenever we do our math, we have to see if there's anything in common. So fluid ounces and fluid ounces, those are common factors, right? So I can cross those out, which ultimately leaves us with the correct measurement that we're trying to find. Anytime we're trying to find, it's being converted to something, in this case it was converting to cups, we want to make sure that unit of measurement is my numerator. So now, going back to how we can simplify fractions, we can either multiply across and then simplify, or we can simplify and then multiply. So I'm going to do both ways to kind of show you. So first I would actually multiply 68 times 1 cup, which would be 68 cups, divided by 1 times 8, which gives me 8. Now can I simplify? I have 68. The common number between that is actually 4. So 68 divided by 4 gives me 17, and then 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. So now I have 17 cups over 2. So now I could leave this here and say 17 over 2 cups, but that's not how we do things in my class. So we have to change this to a mixed number. So how many times is 2 going to 17? It goes into 8 times, because 8 times 2 is 16. So there's 1 left over, which gives me 8.5 cups. Again, just to kind of show you how I got that. 17's on top, so it goes in the house. 2 times 17, 2 can go to 17 8 times. And there's 1 left, and that's how I got my numerator. And then the outside number is my denominator. So if you want to fill in these blanks, how that would look, we know 8 fluid ounces is, 8 fluid ounces, we have 1 cup is 8 fluid ounces. So this is where they simplified first. So they crossed out the fluid ounces because those are common factors. And a common factor, like we said, was 4. So 68 divided by 4 is 17. 8 divided by 2. So now we simplify 17 over 2. And we write that as a mixed number, which gives us the 8.5. If I was to multiply it straight across, we did that, we simplified. So that's how you do it. We're going to do more examples. So this next example, it says, Fred's fruit stand sells homemade lemonade in 6.5 pint bottles for $1.99. Jill's fruit stand sells homemade lemonade in 3.5 quart containers for the same price. At which stand do you get more lemonade? So we want to be able to convert both of these to figure out which one actually has the most. And so at that time, we know we can go from quarts to pint, because honestly, you can go from pints to quart or quart to pint, but it's just easier to go from quart to pint to kind of see which exactly one has the greatest one. So we have 3.5 quart. So I'm gonna go right there. So I have 3.5 quart, and we're trying to get to see how many pints that is. I'll put my notes. Trying to see how many pints that is. So the first step we have to do is to turn this mixed number into an improper fraction. So we have 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1. So I have 7 over 2 quarts equals something. And so again, we're trying to find pint. So we want to have pint as our numerator, and we're trying to get rid of the quart. So we're going to have that as my denominator. So going back at my chart, we're looking for pint and quart difference. So we know 1 quart is 2 pints. So I know 1 quart, 2 pints. So let's now find or divide our common factors, which is quarts. And there's a common number between 2 and 2, which is 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now let's multiply straight across. I have 7 times 1 pint gives me 7 pint. 1 times 1 gives me 1. So 3.5 quart equals 7 pints. So knowing that 3.5 quarts is actually equal to 7 pints, looking at these, 7 pints is more than 6.5 pints. So we know that Jill's fruit stand actually works out. So since 7 pints is greater than 6.5 pints, you get more lemonade for your money at Jill's stand. Then to fill in these blanks, we cross out or divide. How do I fill in these blanks? 2 pints is 1 quart, divided by 2, it gives us 7. So ultimately, the only thing that you really need to make sure you take away is whenever you go to set up your fraction, whatever you're converting it to, that's your numerator, and what you were trying to get rid of, that's going to be in your denominator, because that factor and this factor are able to divide out. So you have a quick check. You have 4 problems. I want you to work on those and then pause this video, work on it, and then come back and we will work through it. All right, so the first problem we have is 14 ounces. So we have 14 ounces as my numerator over 1, because we are at 14 as a fraction. And we're trying to get to pounds. So pound is my numerator. I'm going to get rid of ounces, so that's my denominator. Going back and looking at my measurement, we have pounds and ounces. We know 1 pound is equal to 16 ounces. So now I'm able to divide my common factors. So ounces are common factors, so I can cross those out, which leaves pounds, which is what I'm looking for. And then there's a common number between 14 and 16, which is 2. So I divide 14 divided by 2, I get 7. 16 divided by 2, I get 8. So you get 7/8 of a pound. That's the first one. The next one, we have 14 inches over 1, and we're trying to get to feet. So feet is my numerator, getting rid of inches, so that's my denominator. Going back and looking at my table to figure out the rest of my converted fraction, we know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So again, now we're here. Now we just have to divide our common factors, which are the inches. I can divide both of these by 2. So 12 divided by 2 gives me 6. 14 divided by 2 gives me 7. So it leaves me with 7 over 1, which is 7. 1 times 6, which is 6, which is 7 over 6 feet. But I got to turn this into a mixed number. So how many times does 6 go into 7? Once, with 1 remainder. So we have 1 and 1/6 feet. Do not ever forget your unit of measurement. This is important to be able to label. Okay, the next one is 3.5 yards, and we are trying to get to feet. So feet is my denominator. Feet is my numerator, yard is my denominator. So the best way to do this one is to change my 3.5 yards to a mixed number. So that's when I have 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1. So I have 7 over 2 yards equals some type of measurement. Going back on my table, there are 1 yard equals 3 feet. So now the only thing that's actually in common here are my yards. So I can cross those out. So that leaves me with 7 times 3, which gives me 21 feet, over 2 times 1, which gives me 2. And now I have to turn this 21 over 2 into a mixed number. So how many times does 21 go into 2? It actually goes in there 10 times. I'm leaving with 1 left over. So I have 10 1/2 feet. Sorry, I cut that off. And then the very last problem looks a little bit about the same, but it's 3.5 pints, and we're trying to get 2 cups. So I want to turn this 3.5 pint into an improper fraction. So 3 times 2, which is 6, plus 1. So I have 7 over 2 pints. Trying to convert to cups, getting rid of pints. That's why our pints is denominator, cups is on top. Going back to our unit of measurement, we know that 1 pint is equal to 2 cups. Let's cross out and divide our common factors, which are pints. 2 can be divided by 2, which is 1. 2 can be divided by 2, which is 1. Let's multiply across. 7 times 1 cup is 7 cups. 1 times 1 is 1. So the answer is 7 cups. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you want to check yourself, if you go to page, write this down, page 255. If you want to do the odd problems, those answers are in the back of the book. You can check yourself. That's what we're going to do in class tomorrow. I had originally planned an activity, but I don't think we'll be able to get to it. So if you want to do like page 255, numbers 19 to like 29, if you do those odd problems, you can check yourself in the back of the book. But again, if nothing's due today, it's Friday, it's your first day of online, so don't worry about that. But if you do want to practice, there is a great tool for you. If you have any questions, reach out. Love you guys.